Welcome to another episode of Hazardous Verbal Waste. I'm your host, Shero Chen. Today is Saturday, January 25th, 2020. Got a lot of really cool stuff to cover this week, including our continuing coverage of the new Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Limited list. This week we'll be going over the changes to the Limited list. So let's get right down to it, shall we? In Yu-Gi-Oh! News, continuing with our coverage of the Forbidden Limited list that was recently put out and went into effect on, let me just see here, on January 20th of this year. So just this past week, this list went live. Just to do a recap, we covered the Forbidden cards last week. Those include Orcust Harp Horror, Thunder Dragon Colossus, Heavy Metal Foes Electromite, Ib the World Chalice Justiciar. Sorry, I'm really butchering these names. Tempest Magician, Outer Entity Azathoth, Salamangreat Mirage Stalio, Brilliant Fusion, Sky Striker Mobilize Engage. And those were the cards that were on the Forbidden list. So this week we're going to look at the changes made to the Limited list. Just to go over this one more time, we have Danger Nessie, Dino Wrestler Pancratops, Servant of Endymion, True King Lithosagem the Disaster, Card of Demise, Draconic Diagram, Into the Void, Pot of Avarice, Sekka's Light, and Red Reboot. So just to take a look here, it gets more specific with these cards. Danger Nessie. This is a dark aqua type monster. 7 stars. 1600 attack, 2800 defense. And you can reveal this card in your hand. Your opponent randomly chooses one card from your entire hand. Then you discard the chosen card. Then, if the discarded card was not Danger Nessie, special summon one Danger Nessie from your hand. And if you do, draw one card. If this card is discarded, you can add one Danger card from your deck to your hand except Danger Nessie. You can only use this effect of Danger Nessie once per turn. The next card is Dino Wrestler Pancratops. This is a level 7 Earth Dinosaur Effect monster. 2600 attack, 0 defense. If your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Dino Wrestler Pancratops once per turn this way. Quick effect, you can tribute one Dino Wrestler monster, then target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. You can only use this effect of Dino Wrestler Pancratops once per turn. The next card is Servant of Endymion. This is a level 3 Spellcaster Pendulum Effect Wind monster with 900 attack, 1500 defense. It has a pendulum effect and a monster effect. The pendulum effect, each time a spell card is activated, place one spell counter on this card when that spell resolves. You can remove 3 spell counters from this card, special summon both this card from your pendulum zone and one monster from your deck with 1000 or more attack that you can place a spell counter on, and if you do, place one spell counter on each. As a monster effect, you can only special summon Servant of Endymion once per turn. This card with a spell counter can attack directly. Once per opponent's turn, you can discard one card, place one spell counter on each card you control that you can place a spell counter on. If this card in the monster zone is destroyed, you can place this card in your pendulum zone, then place the same number of spell counters on it that it had as a monster. So, wow, that's one heck of an effect. And it's got a pendulum scale of 2. I don't think I actually mentioned that before. But wow, definitely a good card for Endymion spellcaster decks. and I can see why it was limited to one. The next thing up is True King Lithosagem the Disaster. This is a 9-star worm effect earth monster, 2500 attack, 2300 defense. If this card is in your hand, you can destroy 2 other monsters in your hand and or face up on your field, including an earth monster, and if you do, special summon this card, and if you do that and both destroyed monsters were earth, you can also look at your opponent's extra deck and banish up to 3 monsters from it with different names. If this card is destroyed by card effect, you can special summon one non-earth worm type monster from your graveyard. You can only use each effect of True King Lithosagem the Disaster once per turn. Wow. And it's a worm type. So some of those cards that came out back in the day of the GX era might actually work well with this card. The next card on the limited list, Card of Demise. This is a normal spell, and its effect, draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. Also, for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, your opponent takes no damage. During the end phase of this turn, send your entire hand to the graveyard. You can only activate 1 Card of Demise per turn. You cannot special summon during the turn you activate this card. I don't seem to understand why it went from unlimited to limited, but it's an interesting change in the list. Let me just double check here. Card of Demise. Yes, it was originally unlimited and it is now limited. So, but pretty nasty, especially if you have no cards in your hand when you play it. Next on the list is Draconic Diagram. This is a field spell. All True Draco and True King monsters on the field gain 300 attack and defense. The first time each tribute summoned True Draco or True King monster would be destroyed by battle each turn, it is not destroyed. Once per turn, you can destroy 1 other card you control or in your hand, and if you do, add 1 True Draco or True King card from your deck to your hand. Okay, so definitely a little bit of draw power in there and searching. And a little bit of protection for your monsters. The next card on the list is Into the Void, which was very hard to search, by the way. The first almost page of Google search results for this card came up with songs and music videos. Anyway, this is a normal spell. If you have 3 or more cards in your hand, draw 1 card, and if you do, during the end phase of this turn, discard your entire hand. Okay. So definitely don't want that to be going off if you're wanting to get stuff into your hand during your end phase. But it is some good draw power with a little bit of a downside, especially if you don't manage to use all 4 cards that are in your hand. Minimum. So I don't see a whole lot of use for that. So I don't see why it's down to 1, but unless there's something I'm missing, I really don't see why. Let me know. I'll give you the information on how to contact me at the end of the episode. Moving on, we have Pot of Avarice. This is a normal spell. Target 5 monsters in your graveyard, shuffle all 5 into the deck, then draw 2 cards. This card was initially on the forbidden list, so I'm kind of interested to see what kind of new products they're going to be putting out that will make this card worth taking off the list. The next card on the list is Sekka's Light. This is a normal spell. If you have no spell or traps in your graveyard, draw 2 cards. Also, for the rest of this duel, after you activate this card, you cannot activate spell, trap cards, or effects except Sekka's Light. You can banish this card from your graveyard, reveal 1 monster in your hand, shuffle it into the deck, then draw 1 card. You can only use each effective Sekka's Light once per turn. So, little bit of downside there, especially if you have a deck that is spell or trap heavy or effect heavy. And I'm not sure why it was brought down to 1. I know it was at one point unlimited, and so now it is on the limited list. I can only guess as to why. If you guys have any better idea, please let me know. All right, the last card on the list is Red Reboot. This is a counter trap. When your opponent activates a trap card, negate the activation, and if you do, set that card face down. Then they can set one trap directly from their deck. For the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, your opponent cannot activate trap cards. You can activate this card from your hand by paying half your life points. So, okay, that's interesting. Definitely some trap negation. It also prevents all other traps from being activated for the rest of that turn. It has a bit of solemn warning or solemn judgment in the effect to be able to activate it by paying half your life points. So that's interesting. Honestly, aside from maybe Danger Nessie, I really don't see why some of these cards were limited to 1. Again, if you guys have a better idea as to why, please let me know, and I will let you know how to contact the show at the end of the episode, and I will read or play your ideas on a future episode. That's pretty much all we have for Yu-Gi-Oh! News this week. I will next week be covering the semi-limited and unlimited list. There's quite a few surprises on both. And the week after, I will sit down and give you guys my opinion on how these ban list changes will affect the meta. So, on to the next segment. In Pokemon news, new Pokemon Go update improves combat system, adds new attacks. The latest Pokemon Go update features improvements to the combat system and existing attacks, adds new attacks, and allows certain Pokemon to learn old attacks again. The developers have offered further details about the new update in the official blog. Now, the update teases an upcoming feature in the game by adding a bunch of changes to trainer battles. Charged attacks and switching will be queued and activated at the end of fast attack and won't be overridden by the following fast attacks. Some visual glitches in battles are also fixed. Some attacks have been upgraded. For instance, Mega Horn will now deal more damage, and Volt Switch will activate and generate energy quicker. The game gets a new fighting type charged attack named Flying Press. However, the developers haven't announced which Pokemon can use this attack. Along with this, certain Pokemon will be able to learn more attacks. Now, with this new update, some Pokemon can even learn old attacks again. Now, the most interesting aspect of the latest Pokemon Go update is some of the features hidden in its code. The update reportedly has a code for Shadow Eggs, which is a new mysterious type of egg. The Shadow Egg is expected to hatch Shadow Pokemon, which can currently be acquired only by completing field research tasks. And reports also suggest that the game's files include improvements to the buddy system and anti-cheat features. That's a lot of interesting information for Pokemon Go, and I look forward to seeing those changes the next time I log into that game. That's pretty much all we have for Pokemon news this week. On to the next segment. In gaming news, 3 special new Nintendo Switch controllers revealed. Hardware makers PowerA and Nintendo have announced a trio of new Nintendo Switch controllers, which will be releasing in March. More specifically, the former has announced that it has 2 special new Animal Crossing controllers and 1 special Doom Eternal controller releasing on March 10th, presumably in a variety of regions. The former two controllers featured Timmy plus Tommy Nook and KK Slider, while the latter has a bit more of a generic Doom Eternal branding. Further, each controller is wireless and each will ring in at $50. Powerade notes that all three controllers use Bluetooth 5.2 technology, plus feature the following: LEDs for player number, button mapping, low battery warning, two AA batteries, advanced gaming buttons, and officially licenses. Lastly, each comes with a 2-year limited warranty. Beyond these features, there's nothing very special or premium about the controllers, and if you have experience with Power A Nintendo Switch controllers, you'll be very familiar with the build and quality of these three pieces of gaming hardware. Now, according to Power A, each controller is built for comfort and for long gaming sessions, and allows you to play Nintendo Switch games like a pro. And personally, I don't own any Power A controllers, so I can't speak to their quality, but I do know that they are quite popular, and if you're a big Animal Crossing or Doom fan, then these might just be must-buys. Anyway, for more news, rumors, leaks, media, and information on the Nintendo Switch, be sure to continue to listen to this podcast and check out the website comicbook.com for more coverage. That's pretty much all we have for gaming news this week. On to the next segment. In entertainment news, in my continuing coverage of the Disney Plus service, I wanted to touch on something today that I actually noticed yesterday. A lot of the movies that were absent from the initial lineup when Disney Plus first launched are now starting to come in. At first, we weren't sure why these movies were absent from launch, but we have recently found out that a lot of these movies were absent from the launch of Disney Plus because of existing streaming rights contracts, such as a good portion of the Marvel movies missing from Disney Plus still being under contract over at Netflix. So we know why they were not there, and we now are starting to see a lot of them become available. The live action remakes of The Lion King and Aladdin are two such movies that were suspiciously absent, most likely because they were still in theaters, but no explanation was given on that specifically. But I recently saw that starting, I believe, this week, possibly next week, a lot of these movies that were missing are now going to be available. So that's good on Disney Plus for making do on their promise to be like, well, we know we have the rights to these movies. They're just held up by other contracts. Those other contracts are now starting to expire, and as those contracts expire, they'll be bringing all those movies back over to Disney Plus. So eventually, you'll be able to just boot up Disney Plus, say, this weekend I'm going to do a marathon of all the Marvel movies. You can sit down and you can watch every last Marvel movie without having to switch to a different streaming service. I honestly can't wait to see what comes up. And I can't wait for the day when I can sit down with my wife, who doesn't quite get the superhero movie genre, and we can do a movie marathon of all the Marvel movies or all the Star Wars movies. That's pretty much all we have for entertainment news this week. On to the final thoughts. Before we get to the final thoughts, here's a few words from some other shows you might find entertaining.
Hey, I'm Chen.
And I'm James.
We're from A Bloody Mess Podcast, the badly researched true crime podcast.
We straddle the boundaries between documentary and comedy, and our aim is to leave you laughing and thinking, wow, I didn't know that.
So once you're done with this podcast, add us to your download lists and give us a go. Have a nice day.
Bye.
There's been a murder of podcast.
Hello! Do you listen to podcasts? Did you seriously just give me that look? I knew you listened to podcasts, But do you listen to the Bare Naked Ladies? Wait, don't hit fast forward. Yes, there's a band out there called Bare Naked Ladies. They are quirky, fun, comedic, and excellent musicians. If you love alternative 90s music with a little jazz, rap, and country mixed in at different times, then you've got to try this band out. And we will lead you through a journey of getting to love this band. We have 3 or 4 people with different levels of bare naked experience. We have Aaron, who's our music expert that breaks down each song. We will try to be informative, but also, we're all friends, so we like to have as much fun as possible. If you are a moderate fan of BNL, then you'll find new experiences and information. If you're a BNL fanatic like me, then I bet you too will find a song that is a deep dive that you never knew of. We sometimes have guests after the first letter. Oh, did I not mention that? We are Bare Naked ABCs, and the ABCs represents that we discuss the songs alphabetically. So come try us out on all platforms where podcasts are downloaded. Bare Naked ABCs. And no, we are not nude during the recordings.
Bare naked. Bare naked. Bare naked. ABCs.
Hello, future listeners. We are Historical AF. I'm Ashley.
I'm Keena.
And I'm Natalie.
We are 2 librarians and a historian bringing the funny, weird, spooky, and morbid historical nuggets you never knew you needed in your ear holes every Sunday.
And once a month, we bring you extra AF episodes full of your stories and history in the news.
And we do this while hitting the giggle water and gracing the world with our foul mouths and wit.
So if you love to laugh and you like history, true crime, and the paranormal, then we are the podcast for you, and your girls can't wait for you to join us.
You can find us on all major podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. For a full list of ways to listen, go to historicalafpodcast.wordpress.com. And while you're there, you can check out the photos that accompany each episode.
Yeah, bye. We'll see you soon. I don't know. That'll probably scare them away.
Yeah.
Probably.
Come to us.
Come to the dark side. We have vodka.
And
Yeah.
cookies.
Hell yeah. Bye.
Bye.
All right, here we are at the end of yet another episode of Hazardous Verbal Waste. As promised, there are several ways that you can contact the show. You can shoot me an email, hazardousverbal@gmail.com. You can go check out the website, hazardousverbal.com. On there, there's a contact form, as well as links to all my social media accounts, as well as my Twitch stream. If you want to leave me a voice message through Skype, the Skype ID is Ichimoto1. And if you do send me a Skype message or any message at all, I will either read or play it on the air on the next episode. That's pretty much it. Really excited about the changes to the Forbidden Limited list. I really can't wait to finish off my coverage of the list and then give you guys a possible analysis of what the meta will look like with this list in place. So, until next time, this is Shiro-chan signing off. Peace.